Three words, optimistic of the future. I'd say purpose, promise, and persistence.
You've actually brought to home a very important point that representation, not only equals equity and equality, it also means hope and opportunity.
Today's state of affairs makes me quite emotional, sad, angry, and galvanized to take action are really the three words that come to mind. One thing I'd recommend to shatter that bamboo ceiling is to talk about this in companies. Talk about the stereotypes, bring them to light, and then help with allies and with the Asian community to shatter that bamboo ceiling.
Your career is what you're paid for, but your gift is what you're made for.
Is that similar to the advice that you would give another minority business owner, or what would you say to a minority that's trying to start their own business at this point?
Creative backgrounds that I think many folks that share have, really putting in the work to be prepared for the opportunity and then just getting yourself out there.
As a society, we need to come together and destigmatize cancer. And my way of doing that is talking about it. I have made it a point to reach out to brown and Black women going through cancer treatment to highlight, you're not alone. I'm currently unfortunately helping 7 other women of color, all under the age of 40. And I remind them that I had it at 34, I survived, so will you. And so I just want to give that hope and representation and just the belief that, you're not alone. I went through it, you will get through it, and we'll do it together. Last year, I had the opportunity to get on the TEDx stage, and the topic I chose to speak on was the cultural bias and stigma associated with cancer. Now, the reason I spoke on that, or wanted to speak on that topic, was because I grew up in India, and there's an indelible shame surrounding cancer. And so I wanted to research that, better understand it more so than just anecdotal information. So when I started researching and composing my TED Talk, I realized that this cultural stigma spans across the globe. And so my hope and challenge and message for everyone who's listening to this is that get rid of that shame and that taboo. Talk about it, because when you do, for example, when a woman talks about infertility, she is gathering her tribe together of other women that are facing the same thing but can't talk about it because it's so shameful. And we need to get rid of those notions. And the way you do it is that you take whatever stigma that has been conditioned into you or society's told you, and you believe, oh, I must not talk about this, and go and do the exact opposite. Talk about it. And that's how we're going to destigmatize taboos, not just my message of cancer and what I want to do. It can be applied to many different fields of life, society, and humanity.
I had the pleasure to meet a person one time in my life, and that person gave me one opportunity one day. So to join an organization as an intern. And I remember that was the door that changed my life. If it was not that one person, I don't know, I'm sure my story would be totally different today. But because of that one person, my whole life got changed. So you ever wanna watching this video right now, so you can be that changer, right? So you can be that person making the change, making the impact on somebody else's lives. So if you have the opportunity, you should go. It's about giving back. It's always about giving back.
For us, we think that education is a basic human right. Couple key reasons. One is that education is the foundation to making more money in your lifetime, particularly for girls, right? So if you don't educate young women, the reality of it is that the economic impact it has on a community and then on a country is drastic over a long period of time. Right now, the projections are that about 11 million more girls will not return to school post-COVID.
Wow.
If we had 11 million girls affected like that in one country, it would be drastic, right? And I think that that's just something for us all to that number really sits heavily with me. So when you ask the question about like ways for people to get involved or what people can do, what's my piece of advice is, my biggest piece of advice is do something. Find something you're passionate about and go and do it, right?
I actually got recruited out of one of my own companies to become the chief scientist of one of the very first companies using artificial intelligence in sourcing. And the whole idea is, in fact, our tagline, we bring meritocracy back to tech hiring. So we had a database of 122 million people. And my job was to figure out what made someone great at their job. We looked at 400,000 variables. Turns out we found another variable, both in the research literature, and then we replicated it in our data set, which was vastly more predictive than whether you went to Stanford as a software developer. Resilience. So we built cognitive models because that is repeatedly what people have found. Doesn't predict whether you get hired, predicts whether you're good at your job. Who writes the best code? Who has the highest sales volume? On the various sites where we would pull data from, and we pulled data from over 100 different sites, who had the highest rated design work? And you'd think totally different jobs. Surely they could have nothing in common. Were they resilient? Did they have good communication skills? Yes, shockingly enough, social skills were just as predictive for software developers as they were for salespeople. Creativity, metacognition, general cognitive ability. So none of the things that are on a resume, very little of the things, I mean, essentially nothing we explicitly assess for during interviews.
I would say the theme of my career when I give younger people advice is find companies with purpose, find people that you care about, and then work as hard as you can, and the rest will follow. If I had to kind of summarize this crazy 50 years of mine, everything that I want to do as we scale the higher purpose brand is anyone that feels different or unique, I want them to have an easier experience than me, if that makes sense. So I wouldn't say beyond that challenge I had, I would look back at my career, and it's not that I had challenges, I would say I wasn't myself, meaning I would go to conferences and I wouldn't talk about Eric. I would not tell people I was gay. I would not tell people over the weekend what I did. And I look back at that behavior and I'm astonished that I even allowed myself to do that, if that makes sense. Yeah. And I can't even imagine not being out at a company. When I say out, just about my partners and my life. So it's really, it's about, for me, just building a brand that people can truly bring all of themselves to work, and whatever they are, they feel comfortable, if that makes sense.
I hadn't even graduated yet, and he said, Naomi, we got to get you out to San Francisco and we need to start talking to these people. So I went out there, and he, out of his busy schedule, he made time to go to the networking meetups with me and just sit in the back while I just took notes and network with people, and he just gave me a lot of advice. So I'm really fortunate and blessed to have someone like him in my life, and now he's helped advising me with my startup.
The moments of going and doing something that is uncomfortable to you tend to be the moments where you learn a lot. I've had similar moments. Those moments sort of build up to the bigger experiences. There are things that I did in my 20s that, had I not done them then, my ability to have good intuition and use good judgment now would not be as informed,
And with the late Nipsey Hussle on where, opportunity meets preparation is where success evolves from there. And I'm a huge planner, I will say, with everything I do, from travel experiences to work. But my most serendipitous moments have come from setting down the groundwork and doing the work, and then something amazing comes out of it that I may not have expected. Knowing where I want to be and the goals I want to accomplish, but not doing it to the point where if something goes wrong and it's not in the plan, I'm losing it. So I'm very lenient with when things don't work out. I know everything does happen for a reason.